2, 1. Hello everybody and welcome to the Australian eCrit series, the East eCrit series powered by KISS and Zwift Community Live. My name is Jesper Anker and for the first time ever, I'm joined by Pat Shaw. How are you doing, Pat?
Good, yeah. Oh, well, not perfect, actually. So I'll sit out tonight, but what better place to be than co-comment with you?
I know, right? So we booted off Wes tonight. We recently had a performance review with Wes, and he simply just didn't cut it. So we went out and we got the next best thing, which is definitely Pat Shaw, retired racer. Before Avanti ISO Way. I really need to get that under control. Is that correct, Pat?
Well, yeah, that's the old name of the now ISO Sports Swiss Wellness is the banner they go under, but yeah, still involved with them. I see that Dunn has put up a post there. Where's Pat? We'll find out after the race. That now, unfortunately, a bit sick.
So during the race, if we get a few dropouts from Pat's side on the commentary perspective, that's because down in Australia, you guys are racing this. You know that sometimes the internet can be a bit wonky. Pat is actually on his iPhone 4G network to make this work. So not only is he not getting his 20 points and potentially winning today's stage and, you know, getting his or securing his lead to qualify for the eCrit finale, but he's also using mega data to be here, everybody. So please be kind to Pat. This is his first time on the eCrit, but in your spare time, you're fairly good in front of a microphone. You do what? Full Cycle TV, the SBS Zwift podcast. What else do you do, Pat?
Yeah, I started doing the SBS Zwift podcast. Actually, a lot of fun. Last we had Shane Perkins on, who's the recently acquired Russian citizenship, so he can compete at the Olympics for Russia. I'm a great friend of his, so it was really good to have him on. But looking forward to continuing with that. And yeah, this Thursday I should be back. Friday I say should be back on Full Cycle TV again. Really enjoying that, and obviously some commentary at the summer events, mainly the national championships in my hometown of Ballarat.
It's awesome to have you on here for the eCrit series. Then we'll see how it pans out. If there's anyone that's got the racing experience from the eCrit, it's you, Pat, because you raced this, the last 8-7 weeks? What's the key to doing well in an eCrit?
Well, the same things apply as what apply to real-life racing. If you're not a sprinter, then you probably don't want to be taking it to a bunch sprint. So it's all about learning what your characteristics, qualities, and strengths. If your strengths are power and a short sprint, then obviously you want to hold back as long. If you're like last week where I hit out early, because I know that can't match the likes of Luke Ockerby, Zawadzki, even I can't match them in the sprint. Okay, I might beat them sometimes because maybe I get an aero power up and they don't. But effectively, the longer the sprint it is for those guys. So my aim last week was to go early, but to actually get early so it was unexpected. So the 2 wins that I've got in the eCrit, I've gone, I think, at 8 meters and a kilometre to go.
You've been crazy, man.
Meaning that rather than having to produce 1,300 watts for maybe 3 seconds, I'll produce 900 watts for 20 seconds and around 8 to 30 seconds, and in that way I'll actually be more competitive with those guys. So, you know, guys like Ollie Jones have been very aggressive, and I like aggressive in the racing as well. We've got Ben Hill in the field again tonight. It's great to see him back in the eCrit series. He raced the Tour of King Valley on the weekend and was very active. I think he might have a go tonight. I reckon Ben Hill is already, I'd be putting some good money Hill tonight.
He was sitting up here near second, third position, up here near the front. Ben Hill, he used to race the eCrit quite frequently back when he had a broken arm or broken collarbone. I can't remember what it was, but then he, recovered, went outside, and now, as the winter's slowly getting done, he is coming inside again, it seems like, to race the eCrit series. But tonight, Pat, we're actually on Richmond. For the first time over what seems to be 20 weeks of racing, we're on Richmond. So they're doing 40 kilometers of Richmond flats today. What do you think of the Richmond course, Pat? Have you ever raced this before?
No, I've never done any racing on Richmond, but I have done a few sessions on Richmond. I actually quite like it for training. So if you're doing sessions, structured interval training, or even just structured like tempo efforts, really good course for that, because there's a lot of sections on the course that are challenging, and it actually helps a lot of riders hold a higher power than what they normally could achieve on, say, a flatter circuit around Watopia or London. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Pat might just be losing that 4G connection, guys. Again, this was a very unstable connection on our end, so we do apologize on that behalf. We tried, as the real reason Wes couldn't be here tonight is because Eurobike is happening right now, and Wes is currently in Germany attending the Eurobike convention, so he chose to go to Germany instead of spending his Tuesday night with us. Can you blame him? Not really, as all the new fancy gadgets and gadgets are going to be showcased in Germany at the expo, but we still got some racing to do, as it seems like Pat is now back on the other end. But yeah, Richmond course is interesting. I know a few of the lighter riders today that are going to struggle because it's purely flat. On the Classics course, they use that little incline up Trafalgar Square. On the Volcano course, they use the entry to the volcano to their advantage. Today, there's no such thing. They're going to be spinning 4.5, 5 watts per kilo just to stay in the bunch. Are you one of the lighter riders, Pat?
Well, I'm 68 kilos. I raced at 66 or 65, depending on the race. But I suppose also the important thing is measuring your effort. So in these virtual races, if you like, you don't want to be finding yourself down the back of the group and then surging to the front all the time. It's actually better to, as we see Ben Hill already making a move, but better to effort, and that you will effectively average a lower wattage over the entire event, giving you better legs for the finish. You know, rule of thumb says you'll have better legs and fresher legs for the finish, but cadence is a really huge part of having fresh condition towards the end. And also at any point during the eCrit, I always find that a higher cadence, you're far more effective. And you know, I think you talked about Froomey effect one week with Wes.
So the cadence, having it high, this is one of the things that Wes preaches every single week. He looks at the cadence and he goes, 80, he looks to be struggling now. 100, yeah, he's just in that sweet spot zone. But then there was 120, which is known as the Froome Twilight Zone, which not really seen that often. But Ben Hill's onto the attack, 100 RPM. Yeah, definitely. I think his logic behind it was that it's easier to push a lighter piston multiple times than to push a heavy piston fewer times. I think that was the way Wes explained the whole cadence and your legs system. But looks like we've got a good pack tonight. Are you regretting? Are you sad sitting on the commentator bench tonight, Pat, and not being on your bike right now? It's a different scenario, different scenery for you.
Certainly, like in real life too, sometimes you've got to take the time out at the right times to prolong your fitness. So that's what I've done this week. If I keep pushing, maybe I can't ride for several weeks.
Smart choice. And even if we look at the overall standings over on swiftpower.com, you will see that top 6 in the East is it's fairly set right now, with Aaron Dunn already qualified. Linton Savatsky and Luke Ockerby also look to be almost qualified, I would say. Anthony Vegan Porsche is up there in 4th place. You got Craig Watson, and then you've got on the commentary bench tonight Pat Shaw in 6th place at 162 points. Nearest competitor is Mick Polymere, who is Empoli out on course. He is about 30 points behind Pat, and with 3 races left, that means 60 points up for racing. Mick has to get essentially 20 points today, and then he has to beat Pat by about 6 or 7 spots the next 2 weeks in a row. So even taking your time off today, I think it's going to be okay. It's also considering that it's on Richmond today, and looking at this course, anything can happen. We don't know if it's going to be a breakaway. We don't know if it's going to be a sprint. We've seen Ollie Jones. Now we're seeing Cameron Roberts go onto the attack. We've seen everybody has been trying to light things up already. It's also the pack tonight is a bit more condensed than usual. That's maybe because we're coming towards the tail end of the series. Also, it's starting to get warm outside. Winter is here, I guess. Have you caught up on your Game of Thrones yet, Pat?
I don't even watch Game of Thrones, and probably because I've got to catch up on 3 seasons already. So, no, it's something, I don't have as much free time as the likes of you, Jesper. It's like I've got the young kids at home and plenty of things going on. But Game of Thrones is on the list. What I was going to say about Richmond is that we haven't had the chance to race on it. So, tactically, you don't know how it's going to unfold. And neither do the riders. So it'll be interesting to see whether someone is already looking at the laps and having a look at landmarks to attack at or landmarks to launch their long sprint. It'll be very interesting to see the way they go about it. The other thing was I wanted to go back to was the cadence factor that you brought up. Now, cadence can be measured in different ways as well. So having high cadence is good because it does keep your legs fresh. But also dropping your cadence will allow you to also drop your heart rate. So if it's on an easy terrain and you can drop your cadence down a little bit, it will allow you to drop your heart rate as well. And several times when I've had to sort of go across to a breakaway in these eCrit races and you get on and you're like nearly on your absolute limit, go to a lower cadence, ride at that 75, 80 for maybe a minute if you can. And then that gets that heart rate just down that 10 or 12 beats lower than what it was and allows you to recover so that you can potentially follow that counterattack.
Smart and wise words from Pat. Are you also in the coaching business together with Wes?
Not together with Wes, but no, I help out a couple of people. That's what I like to call it. I sort of coach friends. I don't sort of go out there and market it. So I help out local riders particularly, young talent, and also guys that I've raced against and now, because I've stopped, they've sort of become the more skilled riders in the town. So I've got a couple of National Road Series guys I look after, and they've had some really great success already this year. So Liam White and Nick White. And also a young rider, Jesse Norton, who's heading over to the National Championships next week, under 17. So, yeah, just also one of our locals raced in Albi for the Gran Fondo World Championships on the weekend. He finished 10th. So, yeah, that was pretty good as well. So, Lindsay Burgoyne. So that was good. It's good to have those local people around, and we obviously, as a family, have a bike shop locally. So it's really good to stay involved with the locals and assist them in their preparation for cycling racing.
You know, I haven't really done you the justice yet, because this is the first time you're on here, the Go Zwift Facebook page, first time you're on the stream, the eCrit. Your introduction was very lackluster. So, Pat, you are a retired professional rider who has won the National Road Race Series. I believe you also won the points classification in the Herald Sun Tour. Is that correct? You were up there competing for us?
No. Yeah, fought it out, but no luck there. But yeah, I don't like the reading out the result sheet, because it's not really the results that I had in my most enjoyable moments in cycling. So winning is always great, but definitely being part of some really impressive teams was probably the highlight racing. And you know, I got to race and help in the development of riders like Nathan Haas, Steele Von Hoff, Nathan Earl as well, Chris Hamilton, who's recently signed with Sunweb and now at the Vuelta, Ben O'Connor is another one, Jack Haig. There's just so many guys that come through the system that I was lucky enough to be involved with, and that is the sort of enjoyment that keeps rewarding, because you see those guys now racing the world tour peloton and getting results as well, which is even bigger. So it's fantastic. That's the side of it that probably gives me the most enjoyment.
So you're the reason Jack Haig came 10th in the Vuelta stage, 15th the
100%.
as well.
Yeah, and won the stage in Poland as well. It's all.
Oh yeah, let's not forget that. That was a really big effort, like the guys out here in the eCrit are putting out. It's good fun. Like, Pat, I gotta be honest, before doing the eCrit, I didn't really know much about the Australian racing scene, whether it was at the amateur levels of the eCrit or the pro scene of the World Tour, but there's just a way Australians carry themselves on the bike. It's totally different to Americans, totally different to Europeans. What is it? It's like you just have a different way of riding your bike. What is it?
Yeah, well, when you come down here for the eCrit, I'll show you around a bit. But I reckon we're a pretty gritty group. You know, like in Australia, it's in our culture to be pretty gritty, and you know you got to fight for it. So pretty thick-skinned athletes as well. So when they go over to Europe, it's not really they're not scared of anyone, so to speak. But it's like anything, really. Cadel Evans, when he won the World Championship, really turned the corner for cycling in Australia and made people believe that they could do the same. And even as an athlete that was already heavily into cycling competitively, when he won that world title, that flicked a switch a little too, like just to know that, yeah, Australia has a representation in cycling. And you know, he won the Tour de France as well. And then since then, things have just sort of snowballed. And overnight, we see Jai Hindley and Michael Storer sign for Sunweb as well. And it just shows you that more and more of these athletes are signing for really great development squads like Sunweb and Orica Scott, which are probably the two best World Tour teams to go to as a young athlete. And they're showing the next generation that it is incredibly possible, and that doing things like riding the Tour de France was once very much just a dream, but now it is very much a possibility.
If you are a guy racing the eCrit series, what are the odds of you being picked up by some sort of local development team if you're not already? Like, let's say you are Ollie Jones, who's been putting out insane watts, really great racing style. You have Luke Ockerby, Aaron Dunn, these guys, you can see the watts, you can see the heart rate. What's the odds of them getting picked up by a local team?
So regardless of if I was to give advice to the athletes racing, I would say make sure that we do a good eCrit, keep that power data, keep that file, and send that to teams. But I think that the real thing of eCrit is only just beginning.
Explain.
Well, I'm definitely scouting riders every time I'm racing. 100%, and Ollie Jones, you brought him up. Now we're not 100% sold on Ollie Jones just yet, but I'm very impressed. I know you're a lover of the Bumblebee, but I've already spoken to any Road Series teams about his abilities. But there's plenty of well that interest me. But you have a look, for example, some riders really translate onto ergo-based riding better than they do outdoors. So Cameron Roberts, for example, seems to be extremely, you would say, A-class in these on the weekend in the National Road Series, but certainly wasn't sort of be the guys at Iceaway Sports. If he had have ran, say, top 5 on the general occasion, it would have really put the eCrit on the map, so to speak. So I'm a believer that the people that are doing well in these eCrit series have something to offer, but I believe that if they want to develop, that sitting in the bunch is where they can get better. They need to do things like what Ollie Jones does and Cam Roberts, and that is attack, even if you're a sprinter, because you still want to build your capabilities. If you need to sit in the bunch or crit to get a result, it's not going to transfer over to a race outdoors. There's no question. You need to be able to go up the road, lactate, come back, recover, and then sprint.
Ouch. But speaking of Ollie Jones, in the meanwhile, he's actually gone 13, 15 seconds off the lead right now. And self-named, probably heard himself get a shout-out on the broadcast and went on to the attack. It's Cameron Roberts who's trying to bridge it now, but 6 watts per kilo on a flat road. They're averaging about 50 kilometers an hour here on the Richmond course. Almost halfway through the race as they're racing 40 kilometers today in total. I'm pretty excited. Ollie Jones, he is an under-23 rider. You did mention that I do have the hots for him. Under-23 races over the European scene this year. He got his feet wet in the Tour of Flanders, where, incidentally, we're actually both on the Eau de Quaremont the day the race was there. And it's just 5 months later we both figured that out, which is kind of interesting. But he raced the under-23. He's raced the Settlebum Tour under-23. I mean, it's just really, really rewarding to watch good riders race on Zwift with strategy, tactics, and sometimes a bit of luck involved with the power-ups. Because we all know the secret to the eCrit often lays in the power-ups, in the aero power-up. What do you make of that, Pat?
Yeah, certainly the aero power is the go-to. Last week, actually, I knew I wasn't going to attack, so I actually got, and it was funny, I think you spoke about it in last week's coverage, but I got an aero in my warm-up ride, and I held on to it for the entire race, just so I knew that I had it for that attack at 1 kilometre to go. So it's interesting. You do need it, and I have tried other things, even with the draft and feather to attack or hit on a climb, but it really is, the aero boost for the sprint crits is vital. And generally speaking, if I get other pickups during the eCrit, I'll just use them even to assist me to attack or something like that. But we definitely see Ollie off the front here, again, aggressive. It's interesting to know that he can't take points for the series. So riders behind, maybe I think we won't have to worry about him too much. When I'm doing the eCrit, it's winner. I believe when when Ollie Jones wins, he wins. Like, I want to beat him. Like, I want him to win, and then I finish second, and it's like, oh, you were first Australian. It's like that. So you got it. These guys, and I know Luke Ockerby would be the same. You don't want that. But I've also got another view too. In the eCrit, when you start, there's that warm-up lap, and it's not considered a warm-up lap because it's involved in the full race. However, I've got a rule that I will not attack in the warm-up lap.
Well, it's probably pretty smart as everyone's got fresh legs in that so-called warm-up lap. But, I mean, we saw Ollie Jones a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, attack after kilometer 1 on the London Classics course, and he held on to win, but at 5.5 watts per kilo. Ouch.
Yeah, it was an absolutely amazing ride that night, and that I didn't attack until the finish line because that was the end of the warm-up lap. But every kilometre I went in the warm-up lap, I'm thinking, oh no, he's out to 9 seconds. If he gets out to 11, I've got to go. I have to go. But I think he got out to 13, and then we brought him back a little bit before I attacked to go across. But I really actually like when riders do attack and give themselves an opportunity just to get out there. Like, you probably, if you've got the ability to attack, you're not going to get dropped even when you get caught. So you never know. Roll the dice a bit. Try and fiddle around with the tactics, particularly against Wes's boys at the Wolf Pack. Like, I just love trying to stir them up. It doesn't matter what it is. Just even if you can drag away like Nadsy with you in a break, take him up the road a bit, make them think, oh, what do we do now? It just keeps it interesting. It's all a bit of fun. And yeah, okay, if you win the eCrit on Tuesday night, you've got bragging rights for 7 days.
You know, the best thing about the eCrit series is it's free. It's free to enter. You get every week one opportunity to do whatever you want. In real life, you pay your 20 quid to get on the start line. I can understand if you'd like to get the best possible result, but on the eCrit, go out and attack with 1 kilometer to go. Like, I'm just going to call you stupid, Pat, because no other human being I know could do that. You're the only person I know that can maintain that effort with 1K to go on the London course. You're stupid.
Well, but you gotta try it. You have to try things.
Trust me, I have tried attacking for 1K, and it's not sustainable.
You've got to know your limits. You must know your limits. That's the key. You can't go into that red zone.
No, but it's interesting to watch because I love a good sprint. But you tear up that London Classics course. It's so fun to watch. And we haven't really delved so much into the Richmond course tonight, but it's been really fast. Like, every time you look over the shoulder, it's just one strong out pack with attacks after attacks after attacks. But it means the pace is high, but the watts have been averaging about 4 to 3.7 I've been looking at so far. SwiftPower.com is saying the same thing. And I know you mentioned before the broadcast, Pat, that last week was one of the easier rides you've done. This week, it looks somewhat similar with the watts.
Well, when the pace is regular, a term that's used quite often, likely, which means that the pace varied, so it just stays very similar. So you see they've been doing 45 to 50 sort of kilometres all the time, and what that allows is that you can just maintain that sort of rolling the gears over, and you actually get a better draft effect in the bunch than what you would if they're sort of surging the pace. So even though riders are attacking, it does seem like the group is sticking, mostly together, which allows them to ride a lower power average. Last week, I think I averaged around about 270 watts for the entire.
Really?
That's the first time I've averaged under it for the entire series.
I guess it also comes down to race smart, not hard. Like, if you really wanted to, you could always find a wheel to draft off, sit in, and wait for a last-minute attack. I guess it also depends on how the race unfolds, but usually you can keep your cool and then just hope somebody else does the chasing for you. That's how a lot of these riders in here just race, because they don't have the ability to attack.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, if you look at the results and you're finishing 15th or 16th, you might as well just have a crack anyways. Try something new. You never know. You might find that you're actually a really good time trialist.
But what about the points player? There's
some of
points on offer for the overall standings. You've got to be consistent.
Yeah, but we see it in racing all the time. So you take someone, let's say, for example, Trekkie, who is strong, and I think that might be, he's a mountain biker from Canberra, maybe, I'm not sure. But, for example, he's gone really strong in a couple of breakaways that I've been away with him. Now, he doesn't have points in the series. So if he was to attack and get 10 seconds, would the others even chase? That's the question. So, and can he get a bit of eCrit glory? Like, you're not going to sniff that. Like, that's worthwhile talking about for the rest of the week. So, that would be like if I was riders like that. Who else is another rider similar? Maybe Sam Hill, Ben Hill's brother. Another one, like I think I saw him on the start line.
Yes.
These are guys that can get away, and maybe tactics do come into it. That you don't chase because they're not up there high on the classification in the series. And you've got to try different things. Like, there's no point just rolling around trying the same thing every week. And that's why some weeks I do try and do the bunch sprint, even though I know Luke Ockerby's going to rip my legs off.
I like the contrast between Cameron Roberts and Trekkie here. Trekkie went on to the attack just as you mentioned his name. He was putting out 60 RPM in his 8 watt per kilo attack, which looked pretty funny even in the game, while Cameron Roberts was spinning that washing machine cadence. He still is out on course, and it's because at this point of the course, it's kind of a false flat negative almost, because it's down by 0.5%, down 1%, and so they're in that gear, but they end up overspinning it a tiny bit, and you can see the RPM and the heart rate change accordingly to that. But Pat, I'm getting the feeling that you're the kind of guy to go into the casino and just go all in on black your first try. There is all or nothing for you.
Well, nah, actually, usually in these eCrits, I test the water, so to speak, first. So I'll go off the front and see who's interested. Some weeks you get some riders that are really, really interested. Like you said, Ollie Jones stayed away and won the eCrit about 3 weeks ago. On that night, Cam Roberts came back and did his first eCrit for a long time. So there was Cam Roberts, myself, and Ollie working hard, and that worked. But then I think it was the week before that, I tried attacking, and it was just a waste of time. The group had no intentions of separating. So sometimes it's difficult. You just don't know what mood people are in. Maybe they need to get on the bike after an angry day at work or something went wrong, and then they might be more aggressive. But the other thing is that if you're going to throw down an attack in the eCrit, you basically need to do close to 500 watts for a minute to get a sustainable gap that then you can work at probably threshold or close to stay away, knowing that the group, with its momentum and obviously the drafting effect, will be able to catch up. And they only have to do, maybe a rider does 5 or 10 seconds on the front, where you're probably doing 30 seconds together with your breakaway companions.
Getting a breakaway on Zwift is so difficult though, Pat, because you've got to have that separation. And once you've got the separation, there's no room for freewheeling. You've got to just keep that chain so tight for the rest of the race. Looking in here, still we're 23 kilometers in.
That's what makes it really good. And
We're trying to get Pat on board again, but the 4G data, everybody. He could use a 4G power right about now as Pat. This is one thing about you Australians. I mean, the internet down there. What's going on, everybody? I hope that someday we can somehow like get you guys fiber or something. What's the situation down under, Pat?
well, we've got this so-called NBN rollout, National Broadband Network, and I think they're literally rolling it out from like wherever it's from because it's taking forever. So it's like it's just one big connection. They're rolling it out literally by hand and foot around the country.
Wow.
But I don't think we'll ever, where I am, they just flow with it. But we're here to talk about bikes, not internet.
Yeah, it's the same thing in this case. I mean, Zwift requires the internet connection. So, I mean, you
Yeah,
would
and I
never
was
take on the
thinking-
eCrit with a shoddy connection because then you would have a really tough time keeping up with the pack.
No, that is very true. That dropouts are like worse than a puncher. At least a puncher, you got the spares van. They give you the wheel, and then you get some draft off the spares car back to the pack. Maybe even a bit fresher because you've got a little bit of a slingshot off the drafting of the vehicle. But I was saying before about virtual racing, and particularly in Zwift, as you said, you can't freewheel. And for a lot of my customers that come in our shop, and most of them aren't A grade or B grade, but since they've got on a smart trainer and started using Zwift, they've found that they've got a huge improvement in their out of house times. So maybe their Strava segments around their house blocks, 10K blocks, on a KOM, those sorts of things. And like I said to them when they wanted to get involved in Zwift and onto a smart trainer, because you don't get that relief on the downhill, it does make you stronger overall, and then obviously you improve. So it's actually a really good training tool, and particularly in these eCrits. Like the power that I've averaged in some of these eCrits would win or at least podium in National Road Series events back when I was racing.
I think I've lost count of how many times you go, hey, look, Jesper, here's my peak power for the day. Oh, by the way, that's the strongest I've been in a while. Next week. See you next week.
Yeah, well, I've been blown away. I knew about this eCrit like setup, and I'd heard about it. I thought, I just stopped racing last year. I wasn't very fit. I didn't think about it. And then I thought, I'll just roll along and have a look. And then I logged in the first week, and I actually had a dropout, because I tried to change my view, I think, on the app, and it was probably a good thing because I was well and truly out of my depths. At that point, I was like, I think my FTP was like even under 300 watts, which was really not good for me. And then, caught the bug straight away. So back the week after that, I think I was 17th or 15th, and I thought I was so ropeable. I was just like 15th. Are you crazy? Like, is that the best you've got? So like started actually riding more often. So it got me back into racing, into just even training and getting fitter. And then obviously have really got into it, and hopefully I'll make the final that will be in Melbourne, I think on the 23rd of September. Is that right?
23rd, the Rafa Cycling Club in Melbourne. Nice new shop. There'll be free drinks, there'll be free food, there'll be good company. I mean, there'll be the likes of Pat, Wes, me, other people there, VIPs are going to show up. So have a good time. Bring your autograph book, get Pat to sign it. We'll see what happens. But on the break, we've got Riley Fleming and Cameron Roberts. See, I'm just making an assumption here, but I think they're teammates because they have the exact same haircut, and they got the exact same bike, exact same kit. Usually that.
But I think they're actually teammates in real life. I'm pretty sure that Riley Fleming may ride for GPM Stills as well. I know Wes has talked about this team before. That's Trent Wilson, ex-professional cyclist for Sal Italia. So these guys do know each other well. This could have been a pre-race plan. I always like the idea of, say, your stronger rider waiting in the pack, and your other rider that might not be just as strong to sort of make a breakaway. And then when they get to 5 or 6 seconds, your stronger rider attack across, and then they start to work together. It's a really smart move.
It is, but it looks like this was definitely planned out. And now there's a bit of panic in the bunch as Aaron Dunn already qualified for the live finale. May just be working for Huckerby here as he now bridges across or tries to bridge across. He's got Birdie on his wheel who is putting down a pace on the front. Savatsky is panicking here. I mean, we mentioned this earlier. This is the first time they're on Richmond in a race environment. They have no idea what's going down. 13 kilometers to go. The front guys. Whoo! What would you do right now if you were in this race, if you were in the pack?
I'd want to be with Roberts already because that hurt. That would have hurt a lot. You know, the pack catches up, but this also catches up with the pack. We've seen this in the past where, you know, these surges happen and it looks like a big group has survived. But then that very next move really smashes to be. I agree. That was definitely an attack. Will we see an organised attack, Hill and Sam Hill? I know you spoke about Aaron Dunn and doing the job for Ockerby. I think Aaron Dunn just likes to race, like have a good race, and I don't think he ever actually is, you know, not racing for the win. I kind of like that about him. Like I remember one week I got in a bit of a breakaway. I think there was like 5 of us away, and he was like sending messages through. He's like, "Come on, guys," like to it, sort of revving the group up. Bit of good smack talk a bit to get the group going. Didn't work on that night because we got caught pretty quick, but it's just interesting that he really wants to have a good hit out. That's his main focus for the night. And like you said, he's easily qualified. I think if you average it out, he's got like 17-point average.
Yeah.
For the whole series.
But Aaron Dunn hasn't missed a single race. As far as I'm concerned, Aaron Dunn has raced every single race so far in the eCrit. That is 19,
yeah, he had
20 weeks of racing.
Yeah, he had one dropout though, and he was furious, absolutely furious. He let that be heard on Facebook and on Twitter for sure. And also, like, yeah, because he's always quick on the line, and it's going to be interesting. Like that's probably the thing that intrigues me the most about the final. Getting guys in the flesh, sitting next to each other, seeing one rider huffing and puffing, seeing the other rider sweating and just like needing to just get that fan on level 20. It's going to be really interesting. So I actually just. Hope qualify and then just gonna really enjoy the. You know, it's about, isn't it? Doing this.
Yeah, it's gonna be really, really fun. It's a one-of-a-kind thing, really. I mean, this is the first time I've ever been a part of a live racing event like this on trainers. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how it's gonna pan out. As Aaron Dunn mentioned, goes on to the attack. It's just a national cause and effect. But like, I'm just pending on the race format. If it's going to be 10 guys against each other, if it's going to be an entire peloton with the 10 guys there, we don't, like, nothing is official yet. It's still pending on Glen 9 and KISS Road Racing. But 10 guys versus each other, it's going to be such a tough race if that's the case. I mean, you're going to attack Pat. Dunn is going to react. Ockerby is going to react. It's going to come back together. You're going to attack again. They're going to come back. There's going to be no time for resting. There's always going to be somebody attacking. Like, it's going to be crazy, man.
Yeah, but don't underestimate. Everyone else will be thinking about what the other riders are going to do as well, and I can't go on and just attack my legs off because if they do come back, they're not going to have a chance in the sprint. Other riders, so Aaron, very well, maybe he can attack, and then the other guys, wait for the reaction. But the other thing is, it's difficult to read what riders will be doing. Normally when you're at home, I'm on the bike and I'm pumping away and I'm thinking, yeah, this is hard. And the avatars in front of me look like they're doing it really easy. So I don't know if those riders are suffering the same amount as me and vice versa. So it's an interesting one. Sometimes I've watched back like some of the footage that you and Wes have done from the race just to see, like what is this rider sort of like in that situation? And it's actually very surprising. Like, I think Bernie Sulzberger last week, I don't know if he's turned up this week. Last week he was on and a great rider, you know, in his own right. Was a very professional rider, and it was just interesting to see that already, even just 1 week in, he was able to get his heart rate up to like 190 beats a minute. 90 beats a minute. I think my heart would explode.
Really, 190? What if I told you mine goes to
Yeah,
209 right now? 209 is my max I've ever hit. So
you are young though, mate. So it's normal.
respect though to Bernie last
No,
week for showing up and actually competing in the race, not just sitting on the back, but he actually participated and tried to help the WP Task guys. So kudos.
Bernie's a fighter, man, and he's a results driven person as well. Very similar, probably in our mentality, and he's a great team player too. He's the type of mate that you do want on your team. So I think he's really good at it, and I think Wes and Bernie can do some really cool stuff in Tasmania, not only for local guys, but actually the state cycling over there. And I think that'll be a really good thing for you, but we probably won't see the results for half a decade, but definitely positive things.
I mean, Richie Port is out of Tasmania, so
Yeah, and if you have a look, Richie Port, you spoke about Ice Sports before, but Richie Port was like one of their founding riders.
really,
Yeah, so Richie Port and Andrew Christie Johnson, the director sportif and owner of and co-owner of Ice Sports Swiss Wellness cycling team, are brilliant friends, lifelong friends actually. Yeah, it's a pretty incredible story, and many don't know about it, but he was the reason why they continued to step up as a team. Yeah, and they sort of helped Richie get to Italy to lay down the foundations, then go pro with Saxo.
good old Saxo. That's when he got he won the youth jersey of the Giro d'Italia in like 2011 or something back in the day. So good racing from Richie.
Yeah,
Or
remember he
2009,
got
I think it was.
Yeah, remember he got in a big breakaway of like 35 riders, and they survived to the line.
Yes.
And he took the Maglia Rosa, and then you know, obviously it was a little early for him for that sort of a race, but he went on to secure the Young Riders jersey.
Oh man, I'm sure Pat, Wes, I'm sure we could reminiscence for days about old cycling. This is what we do, guys. If you're not following Pat on Twitter or Facebook as well, Pat will provide commentary on everything happening in the cycling world. It's always a good follow, seeing you've got a bit of a different view compared to everyone else and what's in cycling. That's what makes you an interesting follow. So what's your Twitter handle, Pat?
Shori_07. I might have to simplify it. Yeah, I don't know about different view. Everyone's got a different view. I like to read a lot of the stuff that's on there. I find Twitter to be really good for professional cycling. If you want a professional cycling, there's a lot of really cool people out there that aren't writing or particularly doing things for the big, renowned websites and things like that. They do their own stuff, and it's actually probably more interesting and closer to the point than what you know, a lot of your websites are. So it's pretty cool. I actually quite enjoy sitting up at late at night when the Grands are on and reading up. But this has been really fast paced tonight, and now you can see that riders are starting to get cagey for the finish. And this is what happens. And this is why a good attack now can really go all the way, even on a flat course, because most of this group have already said, well, it's going to be a sprint. So they stop thinking mentally about the pain involved in going off the front, and they don't want to do that.
By the way, I saw Rebecca Wiesiak, I think her name is pronounced, out on course. As Pat is trying to solve his internet connection once again.
Yeah, Ben Hill's girlfriend.
Yeah, she's racing in the B category against Vaughn, which is Shane. Actually, I think Vaughn is today's at Eurobike, which is this week, the convention in Friedrichshafen, Germany, where I'm sure plenty of exciting news will come out of Germany over the next few days. Maybe even some Swift-related news. I'm not sure. I'll be going to Eurobike tomorrow, so of course, stay tuned. Follow Swift on all the social media channels: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You know what it is, and you never know. We're at Eurobike. Eurobike is usually where the big things happen, so stay tuned. But Pat, almost called you Wes, force of habit. 6 kilometers to go in this race. Another lap after this one, and they're done for the day. So about 50 minutes of racing today. Usually Pat, no, now call Wes Pat. Usually Wes and I at this point pick out a winner that we think is gonna go all the way. We're gonna do the same thing now, and you get to start. Who do you think is gonna go all the way?
Well, we could easily go Ockerby or Dan, but I'm going Ben Hill. I'm going Ben Hill. He's coming off the weekend's National Road Series at the Turriking Valley. He's moving pretty good. And I'm going Ben Hill, and I'm expecting him to go long.
Oh, I love that. It sounded like you were beatboxing for a second because your internet was a bit cutting it. And so I went la 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 long. So that was points for style there. That really well done. So Ben Hill is a great pick. It'd be fun to see him get out there. The other easy pick would have been Cameron Roberts, who have been on for quite a while now to win a race. He did win the other day, but we're gonna go way out of left field today. I like Craig Watson. Craig Watson is a guy who's got under the radar. He's somehow managed to get himself into top 6, into contention to actually enter the live finale in Melbourne. And he's not yet won a race. Now we're in Richmond. This is the day. This is the one time where an upset can happen, because they've never raced this before. We got 4 kilometers left of racing. A well-timed attack from Craig Watson, from somebody else. If they have 5-7 seconds, they're gone. So we're going to go Craig Watson, also known as Wes's Wheels, when he initially entered the eCrit series. But so far, what are your thoughts on the Richmond course, by the way? Did you like it?
Well, it's flat. There's not a lot happening for it, but we'll wait and see in the finish. If it splits up for the finish and it's an exciting sprint, then it could be better. But I think that this was probably a very good week for me to sit out. There's not a lot of chances for the breakaway. And you spoke about Greg Watson. He did an incredible sprint last week to run 3rd. So maybe he can pull it off, but I'm not so sure. Important to say that Rebecca Wyasak and also Vaughn, it's great to see the girls getting out there and having a go. Like Beck Wyasak is an incredible athlete, world class. And so it's great to have her on. And maybe her and Ben are actually racing side by side, because I don't know if you know, but Beck Wyasak and Ben Hill are boyfriend and girlfriend.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying right now they're double teaming in the pain cave as they're sitting side by side, giving each other words of encouragement, trying to, beat everyone else?
Yeah, well, Canberra's internet connection might be a lot more stable than Bell.
I think he made a point, guys. I think he made a point. So again, if you tune in for the broadcast today, we're about 3.5 kilometers away from the finish line today for the first and last time on the Richmond course. I just want to thank you all for tuning in tonight. I know we had some technical difficulties with the audio, but if you watched from start to finish at this point, thank you so much. And if you don't want to miss another broadcast, click that like button below here on the Zwift Facebook page, and you'll never miss another broadcast. We do every Tuesday, we do the eCrit. Every Thursday, we do the XRS, I think it's called, Experimental Racing Series with Nathan Guerra. Wednesdays is another retired professional. Well, not, is he that retired? I think he did retire the other day. Greg Henderson, formerly Lotte Sudal, now UHC Healthcare, he does the workout Wednesdays with Nathan Guerra as well. So if you want to try out some new workouts, if you want to try and shake up your workout regime, tune in tomorrow for that. 3 kilometers to go, Pat.
Yeah, and Greg does some incredible sessions. He's a very smart rider and a great help to Andre Greipel. So they're good sessions. 3Ks to go. They're starting to think about who they follow. Interesting to see Luke Ockerby so far up the pack.
He is. He's sitting 4th, 5th wheel right now, but I think because this is uncharted territory, you'd rather be near the front. Imagine a race you haven't reconned. Imagine a race you've never done before. You would rather sit top 10 and be ready for it than sit behind and get boxed in. I'm sure you've been in that situation before.
Yeah, I am a big recon fan and read the race book I really wouldn't know, but it's also strange. Usually you see line Aaron Dunn, the Wolfpack guys, but I can see Ben Hill. He's in a great position.
Ooh, now Pat is sitting there, eagle eyes on Ben Hill, hoping for that last minute attack. So not only Ben can raise his arms, but also Pat can raise his arms and say, "I told you so, Jesper." Ben Hill is going to take the victory today. But we actually get Sam on the attack. Other Hill is onto the attack now with 2Ks to go. Sam Hill is trying to bridge away. 7 watts per kilo. Aaron Dunn is following him now. They're bridging in between the B category riders, which Rebecca Wisniak is in there. I'm totally butchering that name. I'm sorry, Rebecca. Sam Hill is on the attack again. Aaron Dunn is following Cameron Roberts. They're going for a long one here, as they have not reached the finish line just yet. Whew, can he keep this up now at the front of affairs? Cameron Roberts is trying to follow now, as they've got regroupment out near the front. Kilometer and a half to go now.
Yeah, I reckon that was a tactical move. To help out his brother Ben. We'll wait and see, because Ben does have the better sprint finish than Sam. It's going to be interesting to see. That's obviously caused some real issues for the group. And Aaron Dunn maybe burnt too many matches there.
It's going to be interesting now. Aaron Dunn near the back now. He's got to move further up. 1K to go now. This is uncharted territory. I'm not sure I've ever seen a pack this big going into the final sprint now. As they've got 1K to go. Who's the first one to launch an attack here? Anthony Beacon Porsche near the front. 50 kilometers of racing. And it's going to come down to this. I'm not even sure. Where's the finish line on the Richmond course? My knowledge of Richmond is so lacking right now, because it's twice every month. I am not sure where the finish line is.
Well, these riders now know that it hasn't got far to go. It's just under that sprint banner, so it can't be much further up the road here. But I think they might be confused too.
Oh, so it's 40. So Zwift Power got it wrong. It says 41 kilometers. It's 43 actually. So that now they've got 3 kilometers to go. So the title of the race is 41 kilometers. The actual distance is 43. So we'll see if they actually read that road book, because this is turning out to be a Vuelta a España stage where they've got that little bump near the end, but it turns out to be Mount Everest. So we'll see who's going to time this right now. So they've got 2.5 Ks to go. Interesting race.
And a quick reminder to everyone that the Zwift podcast by SBS is out each Friday, so do tune in for that too on Cycling Central.
Ooh, featuring Christopher Mallet, I think his name is. Pat Shaw.
Yeah, Mallet, yeah, he's awesome. And Sophie Smith and Dave McKenzie. So Dave Macker obviously at the Vuelta at the moment, but Sophie Smith joining the podcast this week as well. She's a contributor, but this week we'll be live in the studio, all 3 of us together. So really looking forward to what has been a very interesting week in cycling.
Definitely, and it's turning out to be a good one. We got Orica Scott competing for the win of the Vuelta a España with Esteban Chavez and the Yates twins. Don't forget Jack Haig. But the race that we're all interested in right now is the eCrit series finale here. 3 races left to go, including this one, and we've got 2 kilometers left. I do realize that we missed the final bell, everybody, so we're just going to showcase the bell, and then we're going to bring it over here, and yeah, not going to mention that again, guys. Finish line, they're going to go down here, and I think I remember where it is now. They're going to turn right, and then they're going to come to the finish line near the end here. Sam Hill, once again, maybe he's trying to soften them up, Pat. He's trying to get their heart rates up so that Ben Hill can counterattack at a certain point.
Well, also it spreads them out, so it doesn't allow the Wolfpack to really lead out Luke Ockerby and Dunn for the finish, and this will really suit Ben Hill. Ben Hill really likes scrappy finishes in real life, and I think he'll really like a scrappy finish in the eCrit as well. So still staying with Ben Hill. I hope he can do me proud tonight, because we've always had some huge battles in real life, so it's about time he nailed another eCrit victory. I know that he was very prominent in early stages of the series. Now it's under a kilometre to go.
It's 700 meters to go. The finish line is up near the front out there. Sam Hill's attack didn't really pay off. It was essentially just a long lead up for the entire pack. And I bet you right now he's blowing off the back. 600 meters to go. 500 meters to go now.
Ben Hill moving up.
Turning up further ahead. They're going to turn left and they're going to come to the finish line, I do believe, in a second. I mean, I really do apologize, but Richmond course is foreign country to me. I mean, I'm a Dane living in the UK, and I'm less familiar with Richmond. So we're gonna see here in a second as they're gonna get ready for it. Ben Hill moving up, Jeffrey Keel's in there. This bunch sprint, I mean, they're gonna be careful they don't crash with so many people making up the road. I mean, it's all gonna come down to finding the right spot on the course. Straight ahead now, and now they're gonna start accelerating near the front. Is that the finish line up there? I mean, I hope you guys are enjoying this. You're never gonna get entertainment like this in the near future. So we got attacks from the front. Ockerby's up there. You got Birdie. You got Hogan.
Here's the Wolfpack lead out now. They're starting to set the pace and get it ready for probably Ockerby, it seems, with Birdie, it seemed to be on the front. Ollie Jones, you've gone on to Ollie Jones. Maybe he's looking for a long range. I just didn't know how many would have gone if he had been Australian. Ben Hill just lurked us.
Now, had he not been New Zealand or been a Kiwi. So, good race.
So what's the point you're making? He needs to transfer to Australian citizenship, clearly.
Yeah, unfortunately he has to complain to his parents because he was born under the wrong citizenship. I mean, too late, too little, what can you do about it? Ben Hill, now we're zoning in on him. It is Pat's name in the pool as now we're up to 43.8. I mean, what's going on here? I mean, all the road data seems to be off by a tiny bit. So, SwiftPower.com, always a great tool, but even that seems to be a little bit confused by the Richmond course tonight. So where exactly is the finish line? Is that the finish line down here to the left at the sprint banner? Help us out, guys.
Mate, Orica Scott parked the team bus under the finishing arch, and so they've had to do a little bit of a deviation. But now they're starting to really get into it. The power boost has been popped by.
It
looks like
Thorpe.
Is it popped that?
It's Jay Thorpe with the arrow power up. He's popping it here as he's going off to the front now. They're sprinting everybody head to head now. They're trying to go off near the front. We got Jay Thorpe going early. We got Aaron Dunn here now reacting to the attack. A lot of pedestrians out on course from Sweden, Czech Republic, China now as Aaron Dunn not yet popped his power up. He may have an arrow in the back. Oliver Jones is going to the attack. Craig Watson is coming up here. Savatsky's in here. Ben Hill on the back, but no power up from Ollie Jones near the front. Everybody is sprinting with those arrow pops as they're trying to put out everything they've got. I have no clue. They're just sprinting. They're leaving everything on the road now. As we got Craig Watson and Aaron Dunn head to head now. They're going to turn left. And I think that's the finish line. The sprint line is the finish line now. Aaron Dunn and Ollie Jones both with their powers. But here comes Ben Hill.
Ben Hill.
Oh,
Ben
God.
Hill.
Pat Shaw is out of his seat now. But he's got to keep this up though, Pat. Savatsky is coming back. You know this better than anyone else. Savatsky has got a good sprint on him. Ben Hill went too early. And Savatsky is going to take the win.
Oh.
And Ben Hill is going to be third, technically second, and done. So close, Pat. I think that deserves a round of applause.
What have I started? They're all sprinting from a kilometre to go now. It's absolutely grueling, and it did not play out for Luke Ockerby tonight. It was Zawadski who's taken the win, but I thought there for a second, Ben Hill, you're going to do me proud. I'm going to have to send him a text message and say, what the hell? You never sit up in real life 100 metres to go. Why do it in virtual reality?
I think this one comes down to just the sheer confusion on everybody's part. None of us has been on Richmond, and none of us knew where the finish line really was. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. This was good fun.
And remember again, the Zwift podcast this Friday, Cycling Central.
Exactly. Pat Shaw, it has been such a pleasure. Next week, you're going to be racing?
Yeah, I'll be back, I think. Get on the antibiotics and I'll be fine.